Madam! Desist! Or the Brigadier will be forced to bust a cap in you. The Pertwee years demonstrated a significant shake-up in how Doctor Who works as a show. Gone was the constant planet hopping, the rotating cast, the underdog narrative. Instead, the Doctor was stuck in one place, in one time, with a largely fixed cast of full-on soldiers working for the United Nations. The Doctor became part of the establishment, surrounded by men with guns. Even the Doctor himself learned how to throw hands. So surely we're going to get some high kill counts here. Well, the thing is, the Doctor, even though he was more likely to punch you in the face, was still somewhat of a pacifist. The show was still moralising about how it is better to outthink your opponents rather than outfight them. So most of the time, when we get these men with guns, they're there to show how useless the guns are. Even the Brigadier himself said, "Just once I'd like to encounter an alien menace who wasn't immune to bullets." So whose guns were the most useless? Who figured out how to actually aim? I'm going to have to incorporate a new rule here as well, owing to the military setting of this era. A lot of the time, a character will be held responsible for a death they ordered, even if they weren't the one pulling the trigger. And that is the correct course of action. But there's a difference between telling someone to fire a shot and ordering them to. So here's the rule I'm using. If a named character orders an unnamed character, the named character will get the kill. If they order a named character, then the kill goes to whoever pulls the trigger, as the unnamed character wouldn't have had the agency within the story to say no that a named character would have. They're essentially acting as an extension of the person giving the order. Got it? Good. Before we start though, I have a quick thing to address and a quick correction to make. Firstly, YouTube commenter Mulletsman Alive asked me, aren't you going to credit Zoe with being the controller of the missile that blows up the invasion ship in The Invasion? So, looking at that, I think the reason I bypassed that is because she's not necessarily controlling it. She does the calculations to target the ship, and then that's fed off to another group of people who then coordinate the missile launch. So that feels like a couple of degrees too many for me to count that as a kill for Zoe. Feel free to yell at me in the comments about that, and if I'm met with overwhelming opposition, then I will count those cyber kills for her. And then I've got a quick correction to make as well. And yeah, I'm going to have to put a trigger warning on this. Skip ahead to the timecode on screen if you don't want to have your day ruined. Commenter Joe Tickle brought to my attention that in Tomb of the Cybermen, Victoria shoots a cybermat. Now, I'd not really considered what cybermats were. I thought they were just robots the Cybermen used. But a quick check of the TARDIS wiki shows me that, by some accounts, the cybermats were created by Cybermen from bodies or body parts of humanoids not suitable for cyber conversion, small animals, pets, very young children, and babies. What the hell? So, I'm going to have to hand back one of those pennies I got last episode as Victoria leaves the no-kill squad and joins the one-kill wonder team in maybe the most disturbing way possible. That's right, the sweet young orphan that the Doctor adopted may have just shot and killed a cybernetically mutilated baby. Nobody tell her, I don't think she'd be able to take it. Let's get back to the light-hearted murders now, shall we?
It's so hard to be a Liz.
Right, we're starting off weird here. Liz Shaw was the Doctor's lab assistant, who eventually left after one season because the Doctor didn't want an assistant, he wanted someone to pass him test tubes and tell him how brilliant he was. No. Really, that's what she said in her resignation letter. I love Liz Shaw, but anyway, this doesn't give her much room to get in kills. But she does it. It's an unorthodox kill, but I'll allow it. In Inferno, the Doctor is sent into a parallel universe where Britain is ruled by a fascist dictatorship and technology is slightly more advanced, meaning that the ongoing project to drill through the Earth's crust, which is happening in both universes, is almost complete here. The Doctor is trying to get back to his own universe, but is hampered at every turn by the fascist doppelgangers of his friends. Eventually, the drill breaks through and a massive eruption is triggered, and the Doctor pleads with everyone to let him go back to his own world so that it doesn't suffer the same fate. The alternate brigadier, the brigade leader, tries to stop him, but gets shot by the alternate Liz. So Liz Shaw is going to get the unique score of 1 kill via alternate universe doppelganger. Fun fact, for ages the only Captain Yates episodes I had were the Green Death and the Invasion of the Dinosaurs. So I thought that he was just the guy the writers brought in when they wanted someone to betray the main characters. But I've been proven wrong, this guy is a genuine badass. He makes his debut in Terror of the Autons, where he reacts to being told that bullets can't stop them, by hopping in a car and ramming an Auton off a cliff, only for the Auton to immediately get to its feet when it hits the bottom, so no kill. Plus, it's an Auton, essentially a puppet controlled by the nesting consciousness with very little free will of its own, so definitely not a kill. He tries again this episode when he shoots the evil doll that haunted every 70s kid's nightmare into pieces, but that's still an Auton, buddy. Third time's the charm though, and he finally gets it right at the end of the story when he sees the Master reaching for a gun and opens fire. Only for it to turn out to be this guy called Rex Farrell, who the Master had hypnotised and disguised as himself. It's a kill, just probably not the one he was after. He flips this guy over a chair by his neck in the Mind of Evil, but I don't think that's enough to kill him. Must have bloody hurt though. Then, in Claws of Axos, we get this sequence where he and Benton are in a jeep trying to get past a whole bunch of Axons. Now, Axons are a weird case, because they're actually all one being, essentially cells in a larger organism called Axos. But unlike the Autons, they are shown as being able to operate with a degree of self-agency. They're all part of a hive mind, and if I say that you have to kill Axos itself to count as having killed any Autons, then all my Warhammer friends who play Tyranids will tell me I've never killed any of their models, so I'm counting these. First, he knocks one from a moving jeep, which doesn't seem to get back up, but considering that they can shrug off bullets, I think he's still alive. He finally gets the idea that something immune to bullets is probably immune to cars as well, so when the Naxon decides to climb on the front of the jeep, he grabs a grenade and holy crap, that guy got obliterated! Did you see that? There were just arms and legs everywhere! Gosh! But that's the last kill we see Yates get. He tries to blow up a bunch of Roundheads with a grenade in the Time Monster, but they disappear before it lands. He threatens the Doctor at gunpoint a few times, once when he's being mind-controlled, and another time when he's just been brainwashed by eco-terrorist propaganda. And in that same episode, he tries to sabotage one of the Doctor's gadgets, which would have led to the Doctor being mauled by a T-Rex, but he undoes the sabotage the instant he realises the Doctor might die. He shoots the T-Rex, but this is using a stun gun. By the time of his final appearance, he's found inner peace and a redemption arc to boot. So after all that, Yates finishes with a kill count of just 2, or 1/5 of a kill per episode. And before anyone does the math on these, I feel like I've wanted to address this for a long time. It's not him who shows up in the 5 Doctors, that was an illusion, and I don't care what Pete McTighe says, Dimensions in Time isn't canon, you cannot make me watch EastEnders to get my Doctor Who fan card back. Joe! Josephine Grant is a beautiful ray of sunshine, and that's even shown in her kills. Don't believe me? Her 2 main series kills both come in the Demons. The Master has summoned the mighty Azal! His power is animating the gargoyle known as Bok. Bok is running around outside, maniacally blasting unit soldiers left, right and centre, while the Doctor and Jo are trapped in the basement of a church, with the Master and his new potential ally. Azal attempts to blast the Doctor with a bolt of energy, but Jo leaps in the way, ready to sacrifice herself to save the Doctor's life. But this causes the bolts to reflect back at Azal. Azal is so bewildered by the pure selflessness and goodness of Jo's illogical act, he couldn't exert any power over her, and the backlash causes Azal to explode and Bok to return to being a stone statue, racking up 2 kills in one stroke by being the sweetest person alive. But then, of course, that's just Jo's main series kills. We're taking our first dive into spin-off territory here, folks. In the Sarah Jane Adventures episode Death of the Doctor, a group of alien undertakers called the Shanshith arrive on Earth claiming to bear the Doctor's body, wanting to conduct a funeral for him on the planet where he has the most friends. But the only people who can show up are Sarah Jane and the rest of her gang, and Jo, who also brings a grandson. Of course, the Doctor's not dead, and this is all a plan by the Shanshith to use a device called the Memory Weave to create a new TARDIS from Jo and Sarah's memories, so they can go throughout the universe and stop anyone from dying in all of time and space. Sarah and Jo are alerted to this ploy, and overload the Memory Weave with all their memories of the Doctor all at once, causing it to explode, killing the 3 Shanshith, and their human ally, Tia Kareem, a unit soldier who was traumatized by the death of her brother and wanted to spare anyone else from ever experiencing the same pain. That doesn't feel good. Guys? Do I think Death of the Doctor mishandled Jo? No. Moving on. That's 6 kills total and an average of... crying out loud. 0.35294117647058823 kills per episode. Forget the reality war, this is the worst thing Russell T Davies has ever done to me.
Come on, Sergeant Benton.
Oh, Benton. Of course the dimmest member of the unit family would get me doing some utterly infuriating research. Nothing against Benton, of course, I love the chap. He's always a laugh, doesn't get the character arc that Yates gets, but also isn't as smarmy as him, so it's a win in my book. He's also the character I most want to see return in the modern series, specifically because I want to see Kate or someone hype him up as a grizzled badass war vet, only for him to show up with that dopey grin and give her a fridge magnet from his latest holiday. Anyway, the kills. He gets them in early, getting his first kill in the invasion where he drops a grenade on a Cyberman, but he keeps falling short afterwards. He doesn't seem to be among the soldiers present in the big final battle, so no extra kills. In the Claws of Axos, he's the one driving during the aforementioned chase scene with Yates, but as we've already established, Axons are immune to Car. In the Demons, he shoots Bok the Gargoyle with a bazooka, which freaking annihilates him, but he reforms instantly. Still, I think seeing that he was reduced to a fine mist for a few seconds by no will of his own, this counts as Bok being killed and then resurrecting himself. A second kill for Benton, and also making Bok our first character to attain our coveted Double Death Award. Good job! You did it, buddy! But after that, we just get a bunch of near misses for Benton. He holds a gun to the Master's head later on in the Demons, but doesn't get to pull the trigger. There's a bunch of fights he misses out on in the Time Monster because he was a baby at the time. In Invasion of the Dinosaurs, he punches the villainous General Finch on the nose, and is absolutely thrilled about it. Then, in Robot, he gets to take out a bunch of machine gun nests, and I went down this whole rabbit hole on this, trying to identify the make of the guns based on the muzzles and the time period so I could see how many people would be manning them. I had a mild panic attack because of how the unit dating controversy might affect all this, only to realise that I'd missed the fact that these were automated guns. Not even his evil robot double gets a kill, because it tries shooting the Doctor only to find out that it's actually the Doctor's evil robot double. No, we're going to have to go back a bit to get the bulk of his kills. In the climax of the Green Death, a horde of giant maggots rise from the mines to overrun the quarry around Global Chemicals HQ. Unit try everything to kill them, from bullets to dropping grenades on them from a helicopter to... Okay, well that's actually the only two things they try. At this point though, they discover that a breed of fungus that the local hippie scientist Cliff Jones has been working on is deadly poison to the maggots, and so the Doctor takes as much of it as he can and drives off in his car to poison the lot. But the Doctor's just driving, it's Benton who's standing on the back chucking the fungus about. "But Whisperman, you wise, wonderful sage," I hear you cry. "Surely you aren't going to count the maggots as kills? They're literally just giant maggots. Are you going to count every insect the characters step on now?" Now, I could justify myself by comparing them to the Slither or Sandy, who I have counted as kills in the past. Or maybe I could explain that I just wanted to get some big silly numbers, but I'm going to let Benton do the justification for me. You see, lovable weirdo that he is, while Benton is poisoning this horde of disgusting deadly creatures, he says this.
Kitty, 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 come and get your lovely din-din.
He's pretending they're cats! These things are cats in his brain! If Benton had poisoned a horde of cats and I didn't mention it, not a single one of you would let me live it down, so I'm counting the maggots. But Whisperman, you monumental Goliath, I hear you weep. How many maggot cats does he kill? Well, I went through the episode to double check if there was any figure given for the number of maggots and got nowhere. Then I thought I could try counting the largest number of maggots in a single frame, which would probably be this bit where the Doctor and Jo are rowing through a lake of slime filled with the critters. But I remember that this is just one tiny corner of the cave network they're populating, so whatever I count here would be nowhere near the actual number. And also, I actually have some value I place on my time, so I figure that I can probably use the fact that these are just normal maggots that got really big. If we assume that these maggots were laid by a common housefly, the most numerous species of fly in the UK, then one clutch of eggs would produce somewhere between 75 and 150 eggs, but considering that a housefly typically only lives for a month, including their pupal stage, it's quite likely that she'd have laid multiple clutches in a short space of time. So again, assuming that she laid all the eggs she could, you're looking at 500 maggots from just that one fly. It is possible that there were multiple flies laying multiple clutches, or that there were even multiple generations, but if they'd been around for that long, then surely another creature would have been mutated, like a mole or a badger, something less disgusting. But no, we do learn that one giant maggot reached maturity, and the whole story takes place over the course of a week or so from the first encounter with a maggot, which occurs in a mine that is used very regularly. So, with all this information, I'm happy to assume that prior to the first maggot being discovered, a single fly laid all the eggs it could, and it was those that got mutated. Meaning that we are looking at 501 kills for good old Benton, or 31.3125 kills per episode.
No, don't tell me. Alexander the Great, no. Hannibal, no. Ah.
You knew he'd be here at the top. Brigadier Sir Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart, the Doctor's best friend, the only man whose moustache I like. I'd half considered giving him his own episode because this man has met every single classic Doctor on screen except for 6 and 8. And the amount of times the Doctor has had to deal with the consequences of the Brig shooting first and asking questions later is frankly absurd. It's a wonder these guys ever ended up getting on. We'll start at the start. He doesn't kill anyone in his first appearance, the Web of Fear, as they're fighting robot yetis. But in the conclusion of his second appearance, the Invasion, he coordinates the final battle against the Cybermen, and we see him and his squad take on a dozen of them. So he's just overtaken everyone else on this list except Benton. Then we get his big show, the one everyone points to when we discuss the tumultuous relationship between him and the Doctor. In the Silurians, the Doctor finally seems to have a plan to broker peace with the Silurians, but the Brigadier has other plans. He orders the Silurian cave system to be blown up, trapping the species below and condemning them to death, giving us our very first city kill. The Silurian city was destroyed, and without better numbers to go off, I am happy to assume that this is 200,000 kills. He does also shoot the Silurian leader early in the story, but I'm happy to roll him into the city's population for the purposes of counting his kills. His evil alternate universe doppelganger doesn't get any kills, despite kind of being the main villain of Inferno. Sorry, Crime Lords. In the Mind of Evil, he leads the assaults on Stanmore Prison, where at least 10 enemy combatants are killed by the Brigadier's forces, 4 of which the Brigadier shoots himself, including their ringleader, Mela. In The Demons, he kills Yates' dreams of a workplace romance by turning down his request for a dance.
Brig is an alcoholic, like Yates is gay.
In The Green Death, he fires in anger at a dratted caterpillar. But the maggots are armoured plated, so it doesn't do anything. No kills here. His final kill of the Pertwee era is weirdly far earlier than I thought it would be in Day of the Daleks, when he kills an Ogron with a truck-mounted machine gun. Once Tom Baker gets on the scene though, the Brig gets back into the swing of things. He has a slight false start when he tries to disintegrate the K-1 robot, but just makes it grow to kaiju size instead. If you ever feel like you've made a bad mistake, remember this moment. You've not messed up as badly as the Brigadier did here. In Terror of the Zygons, he shoots the Zygon leader Broton to death and then decides to take a holiday. We don't see him again until he begins work as a school teacher in Mordrin Undead, where he decides to touch himself, oi oi, causing a massive explosion, which kills Mordrin and his 6 associates, racking up 7 more kills. He knocks out the Master and the 5 Doctors, but doesn't get any kills, and decides to sit out the 6 Doctors era. Just as well, they'd probably have made him go insane and strangle Perry. He shows back up in McCoy's era though, where he shoots the literal devil in the chest with silver bullets while delivering a one-liner. Hell yeah! He shows up in the 8th Doctor audio, Minuet in Hell, but despite being instrumental to the Doctor's plans and being the best part of this really gross story, doesn't get any kills. The actor Nicholas Courtney is in the audio dramas Greyus, but he's not actually playing the Brigadier here. He's actually playing the TARDIS. Zagreus is weird, and I'm going to go in depth with it when we reach the 8th Doctor's era in, like, 2032. But I'll just leave you with the knowledge that Nicholas Courtney, as the TARDIS, fires a gun at the companions while yelling at them for leaving their underwear all over his floor. It's a ride and a half. In the Sarah Jane Adventures episode Enemy of the Bane, he shoots Major Kilburn with a tranquilizer gun hidden in his walking stick. Again, I say, hell yeah, but it's a tranquilizer. No kills here. We might have gotten some posthumous kills from In Death in Heaven when he shows up as the Cyber Brig, but for one thing, it's not him who triggers his own explosion, and I'm not gonna calculate how many Cybermen he took out by exploding. Come on guys, I'm not that desperate for kills. And he shouldn't be either, when he's stealing the top spot away from Ian Chesterton with 200,032 kills. 7,693.538 kills per episode. This one's really shaken up our rankings. We've got no new members of the No Kill Club, Liz gets her own entry for 1 kill via Alternate Universe Doppelganger, Yates is on 2, Joe is on 6, and Ian gets dethroned by our new top 2, Benton on 501, and the Brigadier, our undisputed king of murder for now, with our first 6-digit kill count. God, this is a long one. But if you think this was long, next time we'll be going over 7 years of Who history as we delve into the 4th Doctor's era. I wonder if jelly babies count for the purposes of kills. Maybe if you eat them head first?